talk about quarterbacks on the show. We talk about paying the wrong guy and how much it can destroy your future. And it really just sets you down a path of we're fine being mediocre over the next 5 to 7 years because Trevor Lawrence is officially inked up. Congratulations to Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
But for the Jaguars, yikes. This is like one of those situations where Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence have similar stats. However, Daniel Jones was the guy who's Walt Jr. out of Duke. He's like, who takes a quarterback out of Duke? And then he has one potentially passable season if you're generous, if you're a New York sports fan junkie. And then the Giants are like, you know what? Give him $140 million. And then Trevor Lawrence has the same amount of playoff wins as Daniel Jones. They pretty much have the same exact numbers. I think Trevor Lawrence actually has more turnovers than Daniel Jones, which is, I feel like, a really tough thing to do, even if it is the NFL and the highest level. And it's the situation where he was the chosen one. The Jaguars feel obligated to pay him because they're afraid of what happens if they don't.
Yeah. And ultimately, when a team that's as desperate as the Jaguars, I mean, let's look at how they've been the last decade. They were terrible. And for a team like that, just being mediocre is being good for them. And that's good enough for them. And I think Trevor Lawrence, he can definitely reach another level because we haven't seen him really be like good. I mean, he had a stretch for one season where he was good for like half a season. But other than that, like he hasn't shown that. And I know he had Urban Meyer, and then the year before that, he was banged up this past year. But it's at this point, like you have the leverage here where you don't have to pay him for another year and a half.
Yeah.
And then if you what you really should have done is give him another year, let him play, and see if he's worth it at the end of the day, because he's still going into year 4. But instead, they pay him $275 million over 5 years, paying him more than Joe Burrow, who has made a Super Bowl, more than Patrick Mahomes, who have won 3 of them, and Jalen Hurts, who has made a Super Bowl as well. Meanwhile, he had a 27-0 deficit that the Chargers choked away so that he won it. And that's where he got his playoff win. And then other than that, they had a massive collapse last year that was inexcusable for a team that went out and got Kevin Ridley. They have Christian Kirk. And now what are they going to be now? The third best team in their division?
Yeah, and it's weird because he has this kind of strange, and I'm not saying that he's not more talented than this player. He has this strange Nick Foles kind of thing to him where Nick Foles looks really good sometimes and he looks really bad in games he shouldn't. And then he just pulls these games where you're like, he beat what team? And like, what was this team thinking on the national stage? And then Nick Foles being able to get to a Super Bowl, and then also Doug Peterson being part of that run, and then Trevor Lawrence as well. It's like he's Nick Foles with longer hair, but he just has more turnovers than him because he has these games where you're like, where's Trevor Lawrence? There's an APB out for him, and people are looking all over Florida. They're like, hopefully he did not get snatched by a gator because we're in Jacksonville right now, or
Definitely happened.
hopefully he didn't, I don't know, run into something in Florida, someone on bath salts. And then he also has this complex where he has long hair, and I've had long hair before too, but like you have a guy laying down for media day, blow drying your hair so it's waving for the videos. It's like, come on. It's just a little cartoonish. Like I get you want the flow, but at the same time it's like just animate it, I guess.
Yeah, he's a little animated. He seems like he's a little full of himself as well. But at the end of the day, like for the Jaguars, what's really their solution? Because they went out and they acquired decent pieces. They overpaid for Christian Kirk, but he turned out to be pretty good. They traded for Kelvin Ridley, and now they went out and signed Gabe Davis. But for a team that's historically been one of the worst teams since they went to Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is probably their best quarterback they've had at this point. So paying him all this money, although it's stupid, that's ultimately what teams that are desperate do. I mean, that's what the Cardinals did with Kyler Murray. That's what, and we can go down the list of teams. The Giants are desperate. They went out and signed Daniel Jones. So desperate teams make stupid decisions that affect the QB market. And now, when it comes time for Josh Allen to renew his contract, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, all these other players who are better than him, or Jordan Love even, who's in room for a contract extension, they're going to say, okay, well, Trevor Lawrence is getting this much money, and I've done a hell of a lot more. Pay me more. It's going to affect the QB market forever and potentially ruin it.
Yeah, especially like even someone like Jared Goff, he'd be like, Trevor got what? I could have gotten way more money than that. Like you're paying $275 million, and you can blame it on a bad year. You can blame it on bad luck with injuries last season, but you did have an opportunity where Patrick Mahomes got hurt, and then Trevor Lawrence turned it over back to back drives and lost the game, where you had a real opportunity to actually go out there and beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Yeah, and you blew it. You could have beat the Chiefs. You could have been one of the only 3 players to beat them, but instead, they went back.
Yeah, and now it's like, okay, are you the first best team in your division? Are you the second best team in your division? Are you the third or fourth best team in the division? Because honestly, I've seen more flashes from Will Levis, be it it's more of a Jameis Winston style than Trevor Lawrence, but at least I've seen him have some moxie, and it seems like he can really rally his team.